Alrighty. So, as I said, my name is Kelsey. Thank you all for coming. This is the first time we're doing something like this for a Zoom workshop for Firewise. So this is great. This is the risk assessment workshop. So I will be going over everything that has to do with the risk assessment and how to get started with your Firewise account and application. And Michelle McLean, as most of you probably know, is our regional coordinator for Firewise. She is the outreach coordinator for the FAC program, Fire Adapted Communities program. And the Tahoe RCD became the regional coordinator for Firewise in 2024. And since then, we've seen great increases in Placer County, and then following that, El Dorado County, and now on the Nevada side as well. So that's really exciting. Our program, the Fire Adapted Communities program, has funding through the Bureau of Land Management, the Southern Nevada SNPLMA grant. I can't remember the full acronym right now, but um, so that funding helps pay for free chipping services, defensible space inspections, outreach, and supporting Firewise in the Tahoe Basin. Okay, so a little more about fire adapted communities and Firewise. You've probably heard these two terms thrown out there a lot. This graphic is great. It breaks down everything that's incorporated in fire adapted communities, and it is a lot. There's a lot of components. But so our program does a lot of outreach and community engagement. That's how we can be Firewise coordinators for the basin. But really, Firewise fits into the fire adapted communities framework really well. Both structures mesh really well together. And Firewise is a great tool for neighborhood leaders and fire adapted communities to sort of take the next step and get their documentation in place, and the application and all of this documentation and Firewise recognition can help with insurance rates and help people not get dropped by insurance. So that's the hope, and we'll keep moving forward with that. So as I said, Firewise, it's a nationally recognized program, and it assists with communities to become wildfire prepared. Why? It's a national recognition and a certificate that can be issued to insurance companies. And it also has a great structure to promote neighborhood engagement, sort of boots on the ground, and that documentation that I was talking about. And then how is working with regional coordinators at the Tahoe RCD and fire districts. All right. So this is the most up-to-date fire adapted communities map in the Tahoe Basin. And all of the little leaf icons you see are Firewise communities. So not all of our fire adapted communities are Firewise. We are just signing on our 100th fire adapted community, which is really exciting. And 64 of those are Firewise. And we have one pending and 11 in process. So we're growing, and it's another reason I want to thank everyone for being here, because it takes engagement like this. People caring enough to jump on a Zoom and learn more and talk to their neighbors. So thank you so much. Okay, so here's a little flow chart. Starting up here, this link, how to become a Firewise USA site at nfpa.org, is very informative. Please look at it. It has pretty much everything you need to know. Um, and so start there. And then once you've read through a lot of those resources, I've walked you through this presentation. The next step is checking out the resources at TahoeLivingWithFire.com, and connecting with the regional coordinator, Michelle McLean. And then we flow on to our committee. So finding your people in your neighborhood, your team, other neighborhood leaders who are interested in helping the neighborhood become more wildfire prepared. And because it is really hard for one person to do alone, and it's impossible actually. So it takes a village, as they say. And then once you have your committee of at least 3 people, talking to your fire district representative is the next step. And they will help with your risk assessment, as well as the regional coordinator, Michelle. And so, as I said, I don't think everyone was on, but I shared the link of the folder. It's a OneDrive folder. You should be able to access it through clicking it. And the PowerPoint lists all of these links. So it is in there for people to use. All right, getting started. So before jumping into starting your account and your application, like I said, reviewing the resources on nfpa.org and TahoeLivingWithFire.com. That's really crucial. We have everything you need on those sites, free materials, defensible space guide, home hardening guide, lots of checklists and educational materials. So please check those out if you haven't already. And then the next step would be meeting with the Fire Adapted Communities coordinator, Michelle, as she acts as the Firewise regional coordinator. And the next step would be to reach out to your neighbors and start to talk about wildfire preparedness. I think this step tends to get a lot of people nervous, or they're not sure how to approach it. But what I have found is it's on the forefront of a lot of people's minds already, especially in the Tahoe Basin. People are thinking about wildfire. So reaching out and making the first connection to let people know that you are also thinking about it, and there's something we can do together to really reduce our risk as a community. Because if one person or even 2 people in a neighborhood do defensible space and home hardening, it doesn't matter much to a wildfire. The idea is to get more houses, more residents on board to create fuel breaks in the wildland urban interface, which is where we live in the Tahoe Basin. So, as I said, your committee will be a minimum of 3 people. Okay, I see a raised hand.
Yeah, question
Go
for you
ahead.
about the home hardening. I, I'm sure many of the others in this meeting have also experienced this, but I have definitely heard a lot of nihilism. Not a lot. I've heard a modest amount of nihilism. It doesn't matter what you do. And I give people a couple of examples. One is go look at Berkeley camp up at Echo Summit, and they had some stuff cleared around there, and all those cabins survived, and a lot of other stuff didn't. And then the other is somebody mentioned to me the other day that there's some new data from the Los Angeles the recent Los Angeles fires, that when there were neighborhoods with 80% home hardening, everything survived. And any kind of actual data that you come across would be super helpful to share, because I think that
Mm-hmm.
that's something where many people are going to be data driven and sort of not do this throw up their hands, it doesn't matter. Um, and
Yeah.
even if you improve your odds from X to X plus 15%, that's a lot when you're talking about a couple $1 million home.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I guess
Yeah.
Michelle, that's also a request for you as well. You've got that big blast email list, any kind of real hard data, not necessarily some controlled NFPA experiment, where you can sort of second guess it is awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Um, I know there is data out there, and I think our partner Living with Fire, in their publications, they've been working with that on recent data. I would, I know it's out there, so I can compile it and put it in that folder. So after this meeting and probably after today, I can populate that folder with whatever I can find and whatever Michelle has on hand as well. But I appreciate that comment because I've also heard comments like that, and there's a lot of different factors at play, and that's kind of what we're here to talk about with the risk assessment. So it can, I know people are getting disheartened, but the connection with the local fire district representative and the regional coordinator, it that's sort of your team to, beyond your neighborhood, to tell insurance companies that you're doing the work. So, that's what we're here to help you do. And so the next step after your committee would be meeting with your fire district representative. And if you haven't gotten a defensible space inspection, those results can help prove that you are doing that work. And it can be presented to an insurer. Um, so next, after meeting with your local representative, you can organize a small meet and greet. It's optional, but I do think it can be a great way to invite neighbors who don't necessarily know what's going on or haven't been involved to spread the word in the neighborhood to get more people involved. All right. So here's your Tahoe RCD Fire Adapted Communities team. We have Jason Brand at the top there. He's the program manager for the FAC program. Michelle is right there in the middle, and then I'm down there at the bottom. And so we coordinate, as most of you probably know, we meet with a lot of these fire adapted communities neighborhoods, and we all help each other to get more people involved and get the word out. So those are the regional coordinators. That's your team. The committee, like I said, is finding your people in your neighborhood, those other leaders, at least three that are also interested in reducing wildfire risk to help you do the groundwork. The risk assessment is pretty thorough, and it just takes less time when there's more people involved. And a note on your committee, I know a lot of us have fire agency folks in our neighborhoods, and that's great. Forestry folks too. Any agency people, unfortunately, don't count as the three. um, Please welcome them into your group because they're crucial members of the community, and especially with wildfire preparedness. But we do want people who, it's not their job. They're doing it because they want to reduce the risk at their own home. So just a note on that. And then the map. So once you have looked through the documentation, looked through all the resources, got your committee, then Michelle, as the regional coordinator, will help you create the map. Okay, so now we can move forward with the Firewise account. And we're just reiterating this committee, but these are the details we need with your committee. And then deciding on the name of your neighborhood, it is up to you, but talking to Michelle about what's already taken would probably be a good idea. We don't need or want duplicates because we can't change the name of the Firewise neighborhood uh, unless I think it's every 5 years after the risk assessment. It's difficult to change the name. It's very difficult. We could, but it's best to just pick one that works right away, um, and moving forward with that. And then creating a map with a highlighted boundary. Um, with the neighborhood, so the boundary. This area can be as large or small as you would like it to be. It should be connected. The properties should be connected and include non-private land. It doesn't necessarily have to include a certain amount of non-private lots or anything, but making sure that we're considering the entire area as a fuel break if possible, because there are certain stewardship agreements, and we're definitely working towards using more of those, where neighborhood leaders and fire adapted communities can do fuels reduction on non-private lots, U.S. Forest Service lots, and potentially CTC lots as well. So just wanted to mention that. The minimum is 8 houses and the maximum is 2,500. So that's a pretty big range. At the TRCD, we don't like necessarily too small of ones or neighborhoods that are over 500. 100 to 300 is the sweet spot. That's the Goldilocks size, because it can be, we kind of want to keep it local and keep neighborhoods connected with each other. And then from there, neighborhoods can connect with other neighborhoods. But making sure we're including as many properties as we can. So thinking about what makes sense when creating the boundary. And Michelle will help you do this as well. So you can start creating your map with pins on Google Maps. As you're walking around looking at your house, your neighbors' houses, you can start making pins where it makes sense to you, and then you don't have to go out again and do that work later. And again, with a boundary, this is something to make sure that you really like, that works well, because we can't redo it for another 5 years. So you can definitely talk to Michelle about it and your fire district representative, to make sure that it makes sense. You're including the lots that you need to include and all of that good stuff. Something about the number of dwellings for the risk assessment is that the number of dwellings has to match on the risk assessment to the action plan. So the residence is, you don't need the exact amount of residents necessarily, you can approximate, but the number of dwellings has to be exact. So please keep that in mind. This is the number one reason applications are not approved the first time they're submitted. So we highlighted it. Yep, the number of residents can fluctuate because we're in the Tahoe Basin. So that's not as necessary to get as accurate. And again, regional coordinator is Michelle, using this email for the account, and then listing Michelle and your fire district representative when you're making your account, because that allows them to help with the application. And we really want to make sure that it gets approved. All right. Firewise application. I will try to speed through the rest. I want to make sure to cover it, but I don't need to go too fast, but I just want to make sure I get to everything. and not waste folks' time. So we're talking about the risk assessment today, and this photo here is the first page of the risk assessment. I just want to mention you can find this document on NFPA's website. I have the link in the PowerPoint, but you can't use that document in your application. This may sound confusing, but I want to lay it out there. During the application, you can download the risk assessment, and that is the document you need. It saves correctly when you get it from the application itself, not using a different document. So please let us know if you have questions about that. On this same web page, though, at NFPA that I have linked here, where they have this, please feel free to look through this. The risk assessment document is incredibly thorough, and it gives you an idea of what you're going to need to be documenting. They also have a tutorial that's 30 minutes. It walks you through the entire risk assessment, and it essentially breaks down this document, and you practice on a fake neighborhood. So I highly recommend doing the tutorial. It really lays it out, and it makes a lot of sense. And then it just makes it easier moving forward. All right. So the risk assessment covers 5 years, and it determines the actions to be taken in the action plan, which is 3 years. So, as I said, you need to download the document from the application, edit, save, and upload. You can directly put information in the PDF and save it and upload when it's from the application. And as I said, number of dwelling units, it's got to be the same as your action plan. So make sure you're really tight on that. The document goes through all of the things that you need to take into consideration, and it informs your action plan. So the assessment participants, it says must, but probably it really should say should include the fire district staff. It doesn't require fire district staff to be involved, but we highly, highly recommend it, especially because they're doing defensible space inspections. They are your partner as a Firewise community, fire adapted community. So we highly recommend involving them in that. And this is a screenshot from the tutorial. It sort of breaks down the different components that they walk you through. So yeah, I'm not going to go through each one. You can take a look at it. It's really thorough. And then further on what kind of risks you're looking for exactly in the risk assessment, it's things, it's these home hardening and defensible space components. So roofing materials, siding materials, are there combustibles? Where are the combustibles? As on the top left here, on the left, clearly the wood is combustible. And not only that, but thinking about radiant heat. And if there is a wildfire nearby, it dries out already combustible fuel and can make things ignite faster. So the one in the middle there with the brick and asphalt roof, that's non-combustible. If embers are falling on that, the idea is that they fall down onto hardscape, hopefully. Not a lot of vegetation down there. And that's the other part of it. It's not just home hardening, but defensible space. What does the vegetation look like around the structure? Making sure you know what the defensible space zones are. We have a ton of materials on it, and I have the links for those materials in this PowerPoint, but the tutorial calls these zones something slightly different, but it's the same. They are the same expectations. And so don't get confused or freaked out by that. Same expectations, but they just have their own wording for it. But yeah, zone 0 is really, really important when it comes to looking around your neighborhood. It is known as the combustible zone. We want it to be the non-combustible or zero combustibles in that zone. So ember resistant, hardscaping, drainage for roof runoff. You can have plants spaced out, low, herbaceous, making sure they're trimmed, and that sort of thing. And then beyond that, you want to make sure there is space, like the space and defensible space. So when you're going around and looking at your home, your neighbor's home, looking at materials, but also looking at vegetation, branches, and in this one here, these could be trimmed and be a lot less of a risk to the wood siding. And a defensible space inspector can give you those recommendations as well. But you can walk around and, do your own practice inspection. All right. So if you are ready to move forward with your risk assessment, let Michelle know. Michelle is the person who will initiate that and continue moving forward and connect the fire district as well. So a bit of a split here. If you live in the fire districts of the city of South Lake, Lake Valley, and North Lake Tahoe fire, you will meet with Michelle and the fire district with your committee to learn how to complete the GIS Firewise survey. If you live within the fire districts of North Tahoe fire or Tahoe Douglas fire, a defensible space inspector will meet with you to review the process, and then you will wait until your risk assessment is completed and uploaded to your Firewise account. So a little different process there. Okay, something I didn't mention on this slide is that with the map, us at the Tahoe RCD, we will do your map for you. Okay, what's next? So resources in that folder, please look through them. The notes in the PowerPoint have the links for things. And then if you're ready to do your risk assessment, talk to Michelle and you can move forward. And it's really as simple as that. We'd love for you to attend our next Firewise Workday Zoom, which is next week, Thursday, same time, 11:30 a.m. We'll be talking about the workday expectations, things like that. So I have that link in the PowerPoint as well. And otherwise, I want to thank everyone for coming. Actually, we have these resources listed here. They may look familiar to people because we've been sending them out a lot. But these can be found on the Tahoe Living with Fire website. Great resources, have a lot of great information. And then that would be the end of the presentation. Again, I want to thank everyone for coming. Does anybody have any questions? You can open it up to the floor. I don't know if Michelle, you have anything to add, but go ahead.
I do. One, excuse me, we've already done our risk assessment, and our community is having the work day on Saturday. I was hoping to clue into this to know a little more about what is going to be going on and what we should be doing, preparing for that work day.
Yeah, that's
it sounds
great.
like a work day. Bring gloves and rakes and blowers.
Yeah, so people do neighborhoods do different, they have their different styles. Um, so I've seen it look like people coming together and doing defensible space on multiple properties.
That's what
People,
sounds.
yeah, people coming together to chat and, get some education materials and then going back to their own properties and doing the defensible space. It also can look like a meeting and then, people disperse and sort of do the work on their own property or even walking around, going or going house to house. Barbecues are really popular with work days. Those tend to get a lot of participation, unsurprisingly. So another thing I wanted to mention in the resources folder is a document called Firewise Leaders Guide to the Firewise USA portal. So this whole document has the risk assessment, workday, action plan, everything to do with the Firewise account and application is in this document. So again,
I'm sorry, which document is that?
this is called the Firewise Leaders Guide to the Firewise USA portal. So if I just kind of get out of this screen sharing here for a second. Can show you in here. So this is the folder, and this is the document that I'm talking about. So this is Firewise. They break everything down, and we'll have more information about the workday and expectations. But we will be going through that next week. I know that's after your workday. But yeah, maybe if you're available, maybe you can hop on and tell us how it went, what worked well.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, maybe I will. I'm about to find out for myself. And we are literally just kind of blindly buying, but we're gonna have it. I know someone's gonna show up with a bunch of information and a pop-up, and we'll put up some chairs and muffins and bring some bags. We have bags, and it says work day, so we're thinking work. And then we were thinking doing some door-to-door and actually seeing if people need help doing it. Because I know right next door to me are some elderly ladies that they're not getting on the roof, that's for sure. And we had some guys that said, get up on the roof with a blower for 5 minutes and it's done,
Right. And you're approaching it exactly how you need to, custom, whatever works for your neighborhood. It's really about getting people together and talking about it, because it is on the forefront of a lot of people's minds, and we can accomplish a lot by getting together and starting this process. So I wish you luck. I hope it goes well.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions?
I had a question about just the level of participation, in the sense that does the risk assessment apply to every dwelling within the community, regardless of if they want to participate?
So I might refer to Michelle on this, because it is one of those details in the risk assessment. I know in the document they walk you through, it's only the dwellings that you are counting. But Michelle, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, so when we go out and we do the risk assessment, we're looking at 20%. When Michael, for example, goes out in North Tahoe, so on the North Shore and West Shore, Michael will look at all the houses. But for the other fire districts, the requirement by Firewise is 20%. You do not have to have 100% of people involved in your neighborhood when you start. The intention is that you're going to head towards that 100%.
Awesome.
Okay, and I guess just to clarify, so obviously things like roof material can be observed from the street. But what I'm getting at is some of the questions on the assessment about like the soffit condition and stuff like that.
We went
And
right up to the house, right right up to the kind of doorstep and looked at those soffits. But before that, we had distributed flyers that said, we are doing a work day on this day, and we are coming around on, which was like 2 weeks ago, to leave we left flyers first and then said, we'll be coming around to be doing risk assessment and then the work day. And so if you see people walking around your house, like walking right up to your door step, looking at your soffits, that's why. Hope we didn't offend anybody. I think there was maybe one person offended, but for the most part, no. That's how it went. I mean, we really are shooting from the hip here.
Yeah.
So, Scott, you don't have to look in the backyards. The intention is once we start doing this risk assessment, that we then try to encourage neighbours within the Firewise area to have a full defensible space inspection completed. So that would come later. This is just a general overview of where the wildfire risk is in your neighbourhood right now.
Okay. Yep. That makes a ton of sense. Thank you.
Of course.
And you said the sampling rate is 20% in the risk assessment?
Yes, we want to have at least 20%, but Michael will do yours and he's much more thorough. He does the whole neighborhood. So,
okay.
Yeah, because that's Michael's job in the North and West Shore. Every fire district does it a little bit different.
Well, I'm calling it dumpster week instead of work day, so people don't think it's some communist event. And I just made a little flyer here with a QR. A friend of mine lives in a collective living place, and whenever he has to do something, he calls it a commie work day. So,
Okay.
Thank you all.
All right. Any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you all again for coming. Hope to see some similar faces at next week's Zoom and the following week. But otherwise, I hope folks move forward with their risk assessment and talk to Michelle and their fire district rep and really start to lay the groundwork for becoming Firewise, because that's really awesome. Appreciate everyone for being here and doing what they can to reduce all of our risk for wildfire in the basin.
You know, the rep was really helpful. That assessment, if it scares you, because it scared me when I first looked at it, I went, "Oh, you got to be kidding!" They're very helpful. They're really good. So, and they assisted in it, so that helped a lot. So we'll see if that works.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Great. All right. Well, that's it then. I will let everybody go and put this presentation up in that folder. So thanks again. Hope everyone has a great rest of your day.
All right. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.